What's up, YouTube? Eugenius here, back again. Hope you're all well. Going to be talking about Roger or Roja Dove some more, like we did last week. It had a little bit of fun, so I think we're going to continue along with that. So not only are we going to talk about Roja, but we're also going to be comparing his fetish with Hermes's Bellamy, which is said to have been the inspiration for one of Roger's beloveds. But I do want to touch before we start this comparison on Roja Dove and his beautiful perfumes. And you all know my love for my big four is Guerlain and Chanel and Hermes and Mull, you know, kind of my traditional perfumes that I'm so attached to, my beloveds. And in my struggle in looking outwards and trying to find new perfumes to latch on to, I kind of got to surrender, you know, or else I'm just going to be stuck talking about the same things and not really exploring outside of my comfort zone. So I think I'm going to surrender to Roja Dove, and I'm also going to surrender to not paying so much attention to what other people think and their opinions, which I've done a lot before, because unfairly I've created these biases in my head and made judgments on brands and perfumes and things without ever even smelling them and regurgitating junk that I hear in the community, which is unfair to brands like Dua and Roja Dove, you know, without ever really trying these things. And just because I've kind of, you know, coined myself or define myself as a traditionalist, which is just another judgment and kind of makes me feel validated or makes me feel better or feel like I'm wearing something better when really I'm not. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just a judgment. And for a long time, I've actually carried a lot of guilt and shame about actually if I were to like a Roja or a Dua for that matter, and would I be able to actually admit it in public, or what would people say, or what would people think, and you know, what would the neighbors say? Good God, what would the neighbors say? But yeah, just kind of creating biases without ever trying anything is not a good thing. So you know, there is a lot of conflict in these fragrance forums and groups in this community, which is really kind of sloppy and messy, but that's, I guess, goes with the territory and what makes the community. But it's just not something that I want to carry anymore. I don't want to carry that guilt and shame. So if I do like something, you know, that's all that really matters, is that I like it and I wear it and I enjoy it and don't really care what anybody else has to say. But here is Fetish. Here is Bellamy. Bellamy is said to have been the inspiration for Fetish. And Bellamy is obviously a classic masterpiece, well adored, like worldwide. Everybody loves it. A leathery chypre. I love it. A very smoky, very spicy, dry, dusty, herbal, scratchy patchouli with a leathery green mossy base. To me, it's more spicy than it is leathery. This is always coined like one of the greatest leathers, but I always found this more about spices, like green, exotic, dry Indian cooking spices with a lot of smoke. Also considered like this great leathery chypre, but when I wear it, it's like my brain kind of steers and it's trying to tell me it's an Oriental because of all the vanillas in the base. It's got a kind of a smoky vanilla. We've got these balmy, dry, resinous, golden, powdery ambers, benzoins, a lot of incense and frankincense and that sort of thing. And I'm like, wait, this isn't an Oriental. So actually, I'm talking to myself. I'm like, no, this isn't an Oriental because the database says it's a Shipra. So I don't know. Is it we're just believing what's told to us, or because this does steer more Oriental to me? Although I do pick up, the mosses and the patchouli, but it doesn't have that Shipra sizzle to me like, let's say, Bellamy vetiver does. Those three elements that create the Shipra, the citrus, the patchouli, and the moss has this sizzle fizzle. I always kind of like describe it as throwing an egg into a really hot butter or a really hot oil, and right when it contacts, it's got that sound effect, and that's kind of how Shipra should react, that, or at least it does on me. And I don't get that much from here, but regardless, it's coined as Shipra. For me, it's more Oriental, but the fetish is very, very similar, and there's no doubt it's inspired by Bellamy. But to me, it's less about spices and it's more about smoke and resins and incense and frankincense, especially in the base. Is it better? Is it worse? Who's to say? That's, for you to wear and for you to try and for you to decide. To me, they're both absolutely gorgeous and they're stunners. I find the fetish is a little bit like better composed, as in it's much more smooth. It feels like it's better crafted. It's tighter and it's a little bit more complex. The Bellamy feels like it might have a little bit more depth, as in like in its silage. I feel like it's got a little bit more layers to it when I'm smelling it. It's like, just kind of picture, is it Venus with the rings around it? Or is it Saturn? Or is it both? I can't remember. But one of the planets with the rings around it. So picture 4 rings around this planet, and they're all traveling at different speeds, and that was the silage. So that would be the silage of Bellamy. And when I'm wearing this and I'm picturing the planet, it would only have 2 or 3 rings of silage. So the rings representing the depth of the fragrance and the layers. And that's kind of how I see it. Doesn't make it any worse, doesn't make it any better. It's just, it is. I'm not putting a judgment on it. That's kind of what I get. But I feel like it is much better crafted, especially in the opening. And, I really like both for what they do. The fetish for the smoke and Bellamy for the spices. Absolutely gorgeous. And when I wear either of them, doesn't matter which one it is, I always get the same visual. And to me, it's, it's a well-chiseled dude. He's out in the Spice Bazaar with a gorgeous woman on his arms. They're both kind of dressed in jeans and cowboy boots and Stetsons, and they're at this Spice Bazaar. And when they're done doing whatever they're doing, they get on their motorcycle, they drive down that dusty, dry highway. This is like smoke and dust, and they're just driving off into the sunset and go do their own thing. And that's, I always get that constant visual to this, kind of like the Marlboro Man. So going back to the whole, which is better, or, you're wearing a cologne or you're wearing an impersonator perfume, the whole thing is kind of nonsense to me. And, it just kind of sounds like a bunch of dudes at a sports bar trying to have a dick measuring contest. And if that's what you want to do, by all means, go ahead and pull them out, throw them on the table, and you guys decide which one is bigger, which one is better. To me, they're both the same size. One's just very modern and metro and very well manicured, while the other's an 80s metro bush, which it's all comes down to preference. I don't really have preference in dicks, but I do love both of these perfumes, in case you were wondering. And that's really, the best I can compare them to. if you've smelt either of them, I'd love to know what you guys think. What do you guys think of the comparisons or the compositions? But as far as I'm concerned, I'm really impressed with what I've smelt from Roger Dove. He's done me really well, and I'm going to continue to explore this brand. How far or how deep I'm going to go, I'm not really sure yet, but we're just going to take it one at a time. Really like what I'm seeing so far. As you know, pretentious as some of you might seem to think that these perfumes are, they're definitely bold and they're statement makers. I really have enjoyed my time with Fetish. But there you go. Fetish, Roger Dove, Bellamy, and a quick hello. So thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon, and I look forward to reading your comments.